What's up, y'all, and welcome into the Jack Vita and Stephanie Mitchell show.
Hey, hi everybody.
We're back. We're discussing the third episode of season 2, Deal or No Deal Island.
Yes.
And joining us this week, we've got a special guest. Steph, who are we talking to today?
Oh, you know her and love her from games such as Deal or No Deal Island Season 1. A real strategist in her own right, Mattina.
Kim's here. Yay. Welcome, Kim.
Hi, Steph. Hi, Jack. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much for asking me to join you. You know how I love talking these games, and I cannot wait to break it down.
Yes. Yeah, spectacular guest joining us. And it's fitting because you were on, were you on 3 episodes or 4 episodes? 4 episodes, right?
4 episodes.
So we're about to head into your boot episode.
We are.
And there are some similarities that we're seeing a little bit between season 1 and season 2. So, and by the way, before we dive into it, I just want to say Kim's awesome.
Yes.
Kim's great. She's my Arizona mother. We spend some time together out there when I'm out in Arizona. And seriously, one of the most knowledgeable people about reality TV from any competition show. Not just Deal or No Deal Island.
Yes.
Oh. I mean, let's take it back. Even when they announced the cast, and I was like, okay, I'll bet you nobody in this cast is going to know who David is, with the exception, I said, of Parvati. And if she doesn't know who he is, then she is way out of the loop. And I said that to Steph, like right when they
immediately. And I had no idea who David was. And believe me, Kim was the first to say, this is who he is. This is what he's known as. This is what he's done. Kim knows everything from all of the reality genres, but not just US.
Not everything.
Girl, you know those facts. And so you were spot on. And it has been so much fun to watch, especially this episode. When we start talking about chain of command, I said, I got to hear what Kim thinks of this.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I've got thoughts, trust me.
I know.
Well, let's dive right in. Episode 3. Obviously, we're going to start with the lead here. Rock goes home. And unfortunately, I feel like we didn't really develop his character very much. It was Sydney. You know, we were introduced to her in episode 1, and that arc continued into episode 2.
Yeah.
This was one of those episodes where you kind of start to see a little more of that character. When you see a little bit more of the character, you have an idea this might not go well for them.
Right.
Absolutely. I was disappointed that we didn't get to know more of Rock's persona, because when he's at the temple, he's coming out big. Yeah. I mean, he's dropping bombs. He has everybody cheering for him and has this big vivacious personality that we never saw through really up until the temple today.
Yes.
And I wish we could have seen more of that. But you know what, though? The players' comments kind of indicate maybe he didn't show that personality so much. In the days that he was there.
That's so true.
Maybe they just did not get to know Rock, you know.
Rock said it himself. He said they were coming out of him like cockroaches. He said, we saw Seychelles say, oh, wait a minute. Actually, I need to go talk to him, because he has been kind of just not securing those connections, or at least that we were able to see. But that sentiment does carry over into the cast, because they sort of react the same way, like that cockroach thing. So spot on, Kim.
Absolutely. And that was one of the funnier lines that I appreciated. Like they ran around like cockroaches when you turn the light on.
He was so funny. Yes, he was so
Now, it was a little bit of a tease, because they had this sort of thing where they left it ambiguous. Who is Rock going to take a shot at if he wins, and then he ends up losing? And I have to think, like, we got the confessional where he said that, I'm not going to tell anybody. It's going to be a big surprise. I mean, he had to have told production, right? Like, when they're talking to him, he can't just not tell them. So my and you guys can weigh in on that in a second. My inclination is that whoever it was that he was targeting wasn't going to be the big shot that the audience may have been thinking it could be. Whether that be a Will or a David, it may have been somebody else who was not quite as big a target.
What do you think, Steph?
Well, I had a couple thoughts on that. I would say that when you are filming these things in real time, that there probably are some things that need to be put in place beforehand if one particular person goes home over another. So I think it would probably be in someone's best interest to have an idea of where these things needed to be. That if I was doing a show like that, I would want to be prepared, whether it's like to gather someone's reaction or whatever the case. But I can, I can neither confirm nor deny whether or not anybody else knew who was going home. We as viewers, we certainly did not. And that's all we really can draw conclusions to, is that we as viewers did not.
Well, okay. I will neither confirm nor deny also whether we tell production in advance who we would be sending home. They've got to have an opportunity to set cameras and things like that, to get the reaction shots. I don't think he was going to send home a big name. I don't think he was going to send home Will or David. If I were to take a wild guess, I would say Seychelles. Just because he didn't have a relationship with her. She even said so. Oh, I better scurry over and talk to him now. So that is kind of my inclination. As a player, do I think that would be the wisest move? Hell no. Are you kidding?
Yes, totally.
I mean, seriously, you've got Will and David sitting there. Between the two of them, I think David would have been the smarter choice because, Will has no damns to give at all.
Right.
None. And, so.
But also, I just want to think about this is once you verbalize who it is that you would probably go after, you may inadvertently create a target for yourself. We saw this time when
we did.
CK was at the temple, and she unequivocally, probably for the second time this episode, made it clear that she was going after Will. That's a problem. That's a problem for a player like Will, because now Will has to divert his attention. CK, I wasn't even thinking about you. I have some chain of command that I need to get done, and now you had to divert my attention. Because you have vociferously mentioned by name. So that's a very dangerous thing, as opposed to what Rock was doing, which was potentially playing that middle road. So when he goes home, he can do like what Kim did and was like, "Oh, sorry, Jamil."
See, I thought it was a fake out because if he was going after Will or David, don't you want the confessional where he says, like, I'm going to take out a big name. If I get to say, so then you really are stressed out about, if you're a fan of one of those people, you're like, ooh, is it this person or is it Rock? Instead, like, if it's, I don't know, I think it's less suspenseful. They might be thinking if he's talking about Seychelles being the target. So that's why I think they left it ambiguous.
But they do not... that's not recorded. Okay. If,
yes. So this
cannot
is what
confirm that production asks any questions of it, but there's no cameras running as you're coming off the van to go into temple.
Okay. Don't they talk to you before and say, like, hey, if you go in, who are you wanting to go after?
In confessionals?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Kind of, yeah. They want you to allude to names, of course, because we see those confessionals. We saw it with Stephanie was going after Alyssa. We saw it with me.
Yes.
Right? But that's during the game, and I can promise you things switch up when you get into temple. Okay. I had 2 names that I went into Temple with. When I won and got to select, I had 4 names that I was going to choose from. Okay. One that added comments during Temple that led to it.
Oh. Whoa, say names, girl. I want that list. What is that list looking like?
And one who, professed how good of a friend I was to her, and she had my back, blah, 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 and came up with a super secret plan that was so super secret that I knew about it. So those 2 they came up more at Temple, and it could have been any one of those 4. But I decided to stick with the VP. I think we see some of the same in this, that with CK not even being on Will's radar, but because she spoke up at Temple, all of a sudden now she's got a target, and not just from Will. Okay. But at the same time, I'm so confused. How are these players not picking up on vibes, on words, on actions? How do they not pick up that Parvati wanted Rock out? She wanted to keep Sydney in. Boy, my words are wrong today. She wanted to keep Sydney in as a decoy, right? As a shield. And wanted Rock gone. And now Rock is the love of her life, best friend. You make my heart pity pat. And it's like,
wait.
And the people that she's telling this to and around, how did they not remember the day before?
They are, I think some people have been picking up on things. And one of these people is Phillip. Okay, so, but Parvati, when she fake cries to Rock, I just love you so much. I don't know how this happened. Honey, what do you mean you don't know how this happened? You were sitting there and you played the game and you chose. But I will say that there is this dynamic of CK, coming in and really going against the things that Parvati wants with her own sort of agenda. And one of the things that I recall, you guys can probably bring this up, but one of the things that I recall Parvati saying was, let me say,
dude, like, back off, get out of here, give me a chance to think this through with my partner. All right.
So back up, get out of here. It's CK, who now is this overwhelming force for Parvati to want to run the show. She's self-proclaimed like dominant female. She's like, oh, these alpha males. I think she had a problem with these alpha males. In fact, CK, she made a couple of notes to that. So we have really, what I'm seeing is this bigger dynamic of certain people who are starting to be in opposition. And we see that in what Parvati is doing, but I don't think Rock really played a part of that plan. He's just a casualty of war.
Well, do these female alliances ever really work? I know everyone talks about Survivor Micronesia. It wasn't as united of a front as they make it out to be.
No.
Sari really was the person who was the glue of that alliance. She got Eric to give away immunity. If that doesn't happen, Eric might win the game. And it wasn't like it's just not. Adam Carolla has a joke, a longtime joke, where it's like a group of 5 women. When 4 of them go out to lunch, what do they talk about? The one woman who's not there.
That's right.
This just, it doesn't tend to ever work, these all-female alliances, and you're starting to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most telling phrase, and I'm sorry, but CK, this could be her demise. Parvati said, she is the most dangerous player in this game.
Yes.
Well, holy cow, where did we hear that before? Robin season 1 talking. She's the most dangerous player in this game. So Parvati totally borrowed the line. but I'm seeing a lot of that actually. So, CK, your days might be numbered now because you're the most dangerous player in the game.
Not to mention, she's calling out Dr. Will very bluntly.
Oh, my
so
word.
She's making an enemy out of him, too.
Oh.
I think while we're seeing a little bit, they're building up this war between Will and Parvati. I think that this could be a time early on where they could say, like, hey, this person's causing problems for both of us. Let's come to agreement here and let's get this person out.
Truly.
Absolutely.
Truly.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Parvati's cover is blown, and her approach is to gloss over, and we'll just do some yoga in the morning, and we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Nobody kind of brings it up. So
okay, you've got the pavilion, where the tables and the sofas and everything are up there. Huge. It's huge. You've got this whole big beach where you can, and instead we're going to cram 10 people into an L-shaped formation and expect you to. No.
I love it. No. I think it was poetic.
Well, let's back up a second with Parvati and Rock as Kim started to dive into a little bit. I will ask Rock at the time of this recording. I've not done the exit interview. Rock, I'm going to ask him if he bought that because, I mean, again, that could be another thing where they showed us that she's putting on the tears, but remember season 2 of Traitors, she tried to do that with John, the politician, and he called BS on it right in the next confessional. And it's really kind of funny, too, because going back to what Stephanie pointed out about Phillip, I watched that scene maybe 2 or 3 times. I went back, I watched it a couple of times. Look at Phillip's face when she's trying to put on the show. He is not into it. He's detecting it. He's all over this thing. So I think Phillip is, and he's made it clear that he's kind of like, I think that confessional, him saying like, this tells me a lot about Parvati as a player type thing. He is, I think he's got all the right reads. He's just waiting for his time to maybe depart from that or take a shot. He's not doing it right now.
And he's putting himself in a good position because if he sees Parvati as a big threat, guess who he has been working with the last 3 missions, so to speak, excursions. He was with Parvati on the pyramids. He was with Parvati as they was running through. He was with Parvati this time. They got the banker's bonus now as a duo twice, which I don't even want to talk about the banker's bonus because it's never a bonus. It always comes with some follywang. But he's putting himself in a good position, and that is a position of trust with Parvati. Now, whether or not he's going to allow her to catch on to the fact that he knows what type of game she's playing, that'll yet to be seen. We'll have to wait for that. But I think he's setting himself up in a good position, and we're seeing that in the confessionals. He's letting it be very clear, like, no, ma'am. Remember, he even told us, like, you can trust Parvati up until a point. But what's that point? Right?
That's up to him to decide. He's going to know what that point is. There's going to be something where he goes, bless you, where he goes, you know what? She's too close to David. Oh, all of a sudden now she's talking to Will or whatever the case may be. That's going to be his tipping point where he goes, you know what? This is where I've got to, take the fish off the hook.
Yes.
That's all there is to it. I think that there's bigger concerns in there too, because look at how people paired up. I thought there were some big missteps actually last night.
Oh, really? Okay.
In the cases, the briefcases.
Oh, okay.
Letty, for one, was one of them where she's like, yeah, I've got the 4 million. Come over here with me. And granted, they did not know about the split at that time. They didn't know what it was or how it would impact them at all. But there's something going to happen, right? And part of me goes, okay, that was a good step for her because he was in the bottom two. He made it known he was willing to play the banker, all of those telltale signs. But at the same time, her doing it almost out of spite, because if she had teamed up with Will,
oh, I see. Yeah, because Will
would
was
they
still
still,
available.
I mean, the whole push to split Letty Rock was so that they could put Rock in the bottom two.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was the whole idea of it. So if it had been Letty Will, would the same thing have happened? I don't think so.
Letty wasn't gonna, because Will came out first, and he had his thing available. Then Letty came out, so she had an opportunity to go with Will or get onto a new one. So
Right.
And then after her was only three other people after her? Who
After her was David, Lachelle, and Seychelles.
David,
and
Lachelle,
Rob.
exactly. Okay.
4 of them.
Yeah. I think she did.
Yeah.
I mean, how would she know? I think she did a good thing. She was trying to, like, who knows? Who knows?
I don't know, because even if you went under the premise of the largest, let's say you don't even know what's going on with the split. You have no idea, right?
Right.
You have the highest value case, because Joe said at the beginning, highest value is $4 million, right? So to pair yourself with a lower value case like that really pretty much took her out of the possibility of being top two.
Because depending on how low his was, which was really low, she could have gone from like the safe space with any of the higher values, or available for what do you call it? Like elimination, because only people with the highest value case in this particular round at the temple were completely safe. Everyone else was fair game. So you're right. I see that, Kim. I see what you're saying.
The other thing is, I don't know if you saw Letty's Instagram. She was pissed because she helped 4 other people get their cases out of the sandcastles.
Oh,
and they didn't show any of that. Darn it anyway.
Well, girl, hey, it'd be like that.
Welcome to the world of editing. So, but if she helped 4 people get their cases out, that means she knew the values of a number of those cases, right? And so I think it was a huge misstep on her part, because she could have taken Parvati. They would have had 5.75 million. Guess what? They still would not have won.
No, they sure wouldn't have.
They would have had to have taken CK or MG.
Or MGs, because they ended up with 6.2.
I would, if I had to take an educated guess, I would say MG was one of the 4 that she helped, because
I could see that.
They bonded last episode, right?
Well,
so now if she knows that MG has whatever it was she had, 2.75 million or something like that. Together, she and CK had 6.72 million.
Right.
Okay. So if she
you might be right.
MG had, that would have been the tipping point to put them in the top 2 without anyone else necessarily knowing.
And really quick question, was Letty in circle 2 or she was in circle 1? So with David, Parvati, Storm, Maria, Grace, Seychelles, and Lachelle, was she in that one? Or was she in the other one? She was in the other one.
She was in the other one with Dixon and
Phillip, Rob, Will. Okay. See, Kim, and this is why you know immediately which way everyone's set up, who's there, what's going on. Okay. Yeah. So you might be right. I
got something I really want to ask Kim. A couple things, obviously. Number one, this is like related to a little bit of your gameplay and something that you said earlier. So Dr. Will outs Parvati to the group, and MG.
Accidentally.
So MG is then talking to somebody, and she's like, "What the heck? Like, I knew it the whole time. I said something to her. I told her I wasn't going to blow her cover or anything like that." Do you think that that's like good gameplay? Is that the way to handle that? To go up to the person and, oh, we have a nice cameo from Kim's cat. This is
Hey,
adorable.
friend. Hey, Benny.
Benny's just up there gnawing on orchids.
Because you were the person, you were one of the people that identified Rob from the beginning. What do you think of that tactic for MG?
I don't think it was smart of her to I don't think it was wise of her at that point to say, yeah, I've known since day one that Parvati was on Survivor. Well, now you've just let people know that you were keeping it a secret from them. It's like, well, if you knew that, why didn't you tell me? As in MG, or as in CK, right? Who she just partnered with for the highest case amounts. Lachelle didn't know. Was another one that didn't know.
Right.
Letty didn't know. So all these girls, Seychelle didn't know. So it's all these girls that didn't know. Dixon knew.
Right.
Okay. That's why he's baby boy to mom and dad over there.
Oh, stop.
So Dixon knew. Storm, I don't think knew.
They didn't really, one way or the other.
They didn't really show him again too much. Phillip knew. And of course, David knew. The guys all knew. The girls didn't.
So,
but let's have a strong girls alliance here, kids.
Right.
Accidentally.
So, yeah, selective information. This might be a good way for Will to even out the playing field. He may have to, this in terms of himself, he may have to out Parvati in that sort of way because he is already a threat that has been put in the game. He's already known as this big brother champion and people have ideas. He needs to have people's attention diverted elsewhere. And so he has no choice but to refer to the, what is it? Siren of the ocean or whatever that he referred to Parvati as. He's got to let it know because he needs to disperse some of that, high alertness. And that's like one of those emerging things also. Will anyone ever discover who David is, or does that sole information power belong only to Parvati? That is yet to be seen. And that's why I love the title of this also, Chain of Command, because that very much is going to determine where these threat levels line up for the rest of the season. And CK inserting herself in a place where, honey, you could have just sat back and watched the fireworks, but now you've diverted attention. But I appreciate Will's approach. I think it was great.
I think 100% Will did the right thing in accidentally outing Parvati. I think that MG 100% did the wrong thing in saying that she's known it since day one, because that's one of those secrets you take to the grave, because at this point, episode 3, day 4 on the island, maybe day 5 on the island, that is not the point where you go, oh yeah, I've known it for the last 5 days. You didn't? Oh, sorry.
Wait. I can barely contain myself. But who did she say that to? She said it to David as she begins to explain Survivor Championship to him. I nearly lost it. I was like, oh, I know Kim's at home having a good time with that. But she just begins to tell David about all of the qualities that a Survivor winner needs to have. And so how she's
she was explaining merge to him. Explaining merge to David.
Maria, this episode, I'm kind of running this show. Like, honey, please don't say that. Please don't say that, because you're not. You don't, that was very embarrassing for you to do that to the golden god, baby.
I could not. I sat here. I was absolutely beside myself. And then I'm laughing hysterically about it as other people are talking about Parvati. For example, I think it was Seychelle and Lachelle that were in the water, and they're like, oh, I didn't know. And I'm going, Okay. This makes me crazy in the head. You applied for a show, even if you were recruited. You were recruited for a show. You know what the show is. If you looked at anything, right? It's a cross between Survivor and Deal or No Deal, the game show. At a bare minimum, you better be studying Survivor. It made me crazy in the head on our season. It's like, you know, Dawson got lucky that he watched All Stars.
Wheel of Fortune.
At least had some familiarity with Rob.
Yeah.
On this, it's like you could have picked any one season, right? Pick 50 Winners at War. You're going to see Parvati? Yeah. How about Heroes versus Villains? Going to see Parvati? Yeah. So even if you don't see Micronesia or any of the rest,
Cook Islands,
and Seychelles, like, oh yeah, I think she won twice.
Well, let's just say it would serve in your favor if you had a little background knowledge. Right. And we have to understand that everyone's not going to have that same entry point. Now, there is zero excuse, none, that exists for people to not have information from Dondi season 1, because now that's just ridiculous. Now, Survivor has had multiple seasons, multiple villains, multiple storylines. You might miss Parvati. It's a possibility. You know, Big Brother has had multiple seasons. Like it's easy to miss some main characters. I will give a little grace on that. I give zero grace for not knowing anything about Dondi season 1.
And to your point, Steph, if you watch season 1, you knew it was the Rob show. So you have to have an idea that they're going to pull somebody from reality TV is going to be on here. And they're probably not going to want you to know that they came from reality TV because people saw what Rob did on season 1. So, yeah.
But hello, that's why if I knew nothing about any reality show, knowing that Rob was a winner and was cast on season 1, I would look through the titles of every season and I would go, oh, Winners at War. Oh, it's all winners. I think I'll watch that one. If nothing else.
That's a good approach.
Yeah. Oh, that's bare minimum.
But there's so many episodes. They could have, you're right. There's no way around it, Kim. But I will say, David would have caught me up. I would have been caught. I don't know that man. I do not know that man.
David would have caught everybody up.
Yeah.
From our season, the only one who would have known David would have been Rob.
And Kim Mattina.
Oh, yeah, that too. But I would not have said anything about David because I would let everybody draw their own conclusions, because look at the man, right? Physically, he makes Nick look like nothing.
I will say
David's big.
I will say, and I may be in the opposite of opinion, but of a lot of people, but I've been looking and rewinding, and Phillip ain't too shabby, y'all.
Oh, no. Phillip is rock solid.
So I don't know.
I was going to say, David hasn't done well on two of these challenges. He's been up for elimination. So
it's because of that raggedy banker's bonus. It's never a bonus. They're going to have to learn. It's too risky. That's why, but not because he physically didn't do well. He came upon the shed. He did the pyramid one good. I mean, he's physically, you saw Parvati was the second one out the gate. Phillip ran past him like he was a doggone robot. I was like, what is this guy? Flies past Parvati and just the wind alone knocks her off her feet. He is fierce. I fear him physically more than I fear David, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, David hasn't shown much for it yet. I can promise you I won't be surprised if we start seeing competitive David come out.
Okay.
And when competitive David comes out, he is fierce and he plays hard and not always fair. Okay. That's why last night it was all about communication and, little give and take here. And he's like pulling the rope going, just move over. I'm out there.
Influence.
I've got it.
Manipulation.
Now, how did he end up being the first one running back there? Granted, he stopped at that 2 million spot.
Yeah.
2 million, 22.25, I think it was. He stopped there because he didn't want a big target, right? For going, another 100 yards maybe to get the last one.
Mm-hmm.
So he stops, but he was the 10th one back.
Oh, I see. Okay.
He was the first one out of the circle, but he was the 10th one back. Will was the last one out of the circle.
Yep, exactly.
Cracking his back on the trail.
Let the peasants run, he says.
Oh, wasn't that great? Wasn't that so fun?
That was so fun. And Will was the 7th one back.
So that does go to show you physicality is not going to be everything in this game. And Will taking his time, leaving and coming back, and still not only not getting the lowest case, but also having options. Like, it speaks a lot. Relax, take your time. I did learn that from Dondi season 1, the Rob approach. Take your time. He only had two arrows, and he took his time, and he ended up hitting a $1 million case. So take your time, and that's what needs to happen. Will showing us that muscles aren't everything.
But Letty, Rock, David, Lachelle, and Seychelles all came in after Will.
Isn't that something, right?
Now, Letty, if she helped 4 other people get cases, fine. But going into it, I was absolutely gobsmacked at Dixon's choice of a case, at Seychelles, Lachelle. How did Will get 1 point? What did he have? 1.25?
25. Yeah, 1.25 or 1.45. It's one of those two.
How was that even an available case? Okay, because if you're looking at it that way,
true.
Again, thinking in terms of no twist, right? Automatically, you've got to figure that Seychelles, Lachelle, Rock, and Dixon would have been the bottom 4.
Because of how they left out the gate.
Exactly. And how they didn't go any further to try and get a case. I would have at least been looking to get one over $1 million. Right?
These were really high value cases, though. So sometimes people like Dixon was very happy to not take the risk of continuing to run and getting the case that he chose, which ended up being, a lower. What was Dixon's? But I think
Dixon was 950 million, I believe, or 950,000.
But he wanted to. That was what he said he was going to do. He had no intention on going for the highest. He wanted to get something in the middle and kind of stay safe. That was his approach, and I think that was a fine approach. Which that is what allowed Will to just, mosey on in, and I don't know.
I'm fine with wanting to ride in the middle, but
that wasn't high enough.
You got to go for at least middle, upper middle. They knew what the values of the cases were, and they ran past them.
Yeah.
And you leave 1.25 million there for Will? Come on. I thought that was very poor planning.
Yeah. They probably were like, we can do better. I can get more, maybe.
Something. Who knows?
You guys know what I thought was really funny? It was very, very subtle, and I was maybe I was the only person laughing at this, was in a bunch of movies, I feel like when they're kind of out in the wilderness and it's with animals, and then something bad happens and someone dies, and they cut to a shot of the birds flying away. Before the challenge, they just open up with birds flying away. So I'm like, did someone die? What happened here?
I love that you noticed that. That is so funny. Yeah,
they do. They've got some really funny edits.
They do.
So subtle. I would say the editing team, the story team, on that piece of it, they're good.
Nailed it. Always do.
And I would give my line of the night the funniest line of the night, I have to give to Will when he says, my biggest fear is clowns eating little corn, eating baby corn.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, because baby corn skeeves me out anyway, but that's beside the point.
So
Clowns I'm okay with, but not baby corn. And he's like, my second biggest fear is being eliminated early. But when he said clowns eating baby corn, I rolled. I was like, that's beautiful. That's
that really is.
Will, episode MVP for me, entertainment wise. I really think the show needed this. Honestly, it needed an injection of something. Because I mean, if we did not have Will, I feel like the trajectory this thing was going might not be quite as interesting as season 1. And so Will is really like, he's batting 1,000 with the confessionals. He's bringing the drama. He's filling the Rob role from last season in a lot of ways, where he's going to play to the cameras a little bit. He's stirring the pot. He gives good confessionals, and I feel like that was lacking upon his arrival.
I think so too. I haven't been real impressed with the entertainment, and let's face it, it's a TV show. The storytelling, the drama, everything like that is part of the entertainment of the show. And I don't feel like Parvati has provided that to the degree that I've seen her previously do it on Survivor. I didn't think she was a great storyteller in The Traitors. And so far, and I think possibly Will wakes her up. I'm hoping to see better storytelling, better lines, and better description of strategy.
I love that. Yes.
David is laying low. So far, up until now, I felt like David's carried a lot of the entertainment value in the show, just because his lines kind of crack me up anyway. But that's knowing who he is from over there and comparing it to what he's doing right now. And I'm scared for those players. Will needed to shake it up. So when I'm looking at the civilian players, right, I don't know if it's social media presence or influencer presence that people are scared to say something because, oh my God, people might hate me on the internet. No, you know what? That's okay. It's okay. It really is. You've got an opportunity here. And unfortunately, I think a lot of those names are going to be forgotten through the years. And so I'm really hoping that Will has literally rattled the cage and woken these people up so that hear more. Again, don't think CK made a great decision announcing in front of everybody and Will at Temple that she wants Will gone. I don't think that was a great idea, but I love that it was in. I love that it was there.
It's probably the correct targeting to make too, of like, okay,
100%.
Let's get this guy out. You made a comment earlier, Kim, that I thought was really interesting that I'd love to go a little deeper into is, and I'll just re-ask the question. So let's say you're playing on season 2, not season 1. You're the same exact person, character you've never played before. You're thrown into the situation. Dr. Will shows up. Parvati shows up. And you know who David is. Which, are you wanting to work with either of them? I mean, are you going to try to use one to put... I mean, because look, it looks like there's going to be a war unfolding at some point. Which side of that war are you on? You made a comment about it earlier. I'd love to know why.
I would... Okay, so you've got people that are out front shady, period, right? Will is out front shady. Rob was out front shady. You've got Parvati, who is not only playing low-key, but she's not telling who she is. She's not talking about Survivor, except she's not denying it to those people that knew. Dixon, Phillip, MG, right? MG just buried herself, right? Phillip hasn't let on yet that he knows, which I think is fabulous move for him.
Mm-hmm.
Dixon hasn't let on that he knows.
It's going to be obvious.
Baby boy's pretty obvious there, right? So if I were playing season 2, I would likely get rid of Parvati. Okay. She would be the first one I would get rid of, just because she's, everybody knows about Will, and nobody knows except Parvati about David. I would get rid of Parvati, so I'm the only one who knows about David. Would I tell David that I know? Oh, no, I wouldn't. Not until I needed to.
That's so interesting.
Okay? And unlike with Rob, where I was out right in the front going, yeah, that's Rob. You need to know about him. I would not say a word. That one would go to the grave with me, except for David knowing that I know who he is. Okay. I think it would stun him because I'm a civilian. How would I know? Why would I watch Australian Survivor? And Will, the way I figure it, Will's going to shoot himself in the foot. He's not a huge competitor. I mean, he is a huge competitor, but he is not like Rob, a winning competitor.
He's not a challenge beast.
Exactly. So I think that Will would ultimately shoot himself in the foot. So that's where I would go with it. I would keep Will around for a little bit, not long. I would get rid of Parvati right away, and I would keep David right there, and I would play dumb. Oh my God, so dumb. So dumb.
I love hearing that. That is such a great question, Jack. See, that's so nice.
All right, Steph, what do you have? Because I want to wrap Dondi up and then try to talk to traders for a couple.
Oh my goodness! Okay.
Yeah, so, what else do you have Dondi related?
That's all Dondi related. That was a good episode. I think we captured some really quality moves. We see some alliances forming, other strategies falling apart, people making great connections, and I think it was great. I'm sad to see that Rock went.
I am too.
Yeah, I am too.
Especially, I mean, one thing I want to comment on here before we finish with Dondi is Luke was on. We did an exit interview with him 2 weeks ago, and he was like, "Rock is the man. He's my guy. He's awesome." And maybe that should have been an indicator that they got to spend a lot of time together outside the game. But then I also just wanted to comment on just real quick, and I don't want to go too deep into this, but I know there was a lot of nastiness over the last week just with social media posts, stuff that was said publicly that probably should not have been said publicly as 100%. It relates to Sydney. Sydney did make a couple of comments on Reddit. I'm not going to read those comments. She did say some things, so if you guys are interested, it's all on a Reddit thread where I posted I think it was the exit interview that I did with her. You guys can check out the exit interview. But the bottom line is Sydney was saying that she got a lot of nasty messages and comments and things that weren't even directly said to her. Cast members were saying on Instagram lives, Instagram stories, and to tell the truth, I'm not following all that. I'm not watching that, so I didn't see it. But that was extremely disappointing. I did want to give a shout out, though, because she said that both Luke and Phillip had been extremely supportive of her during this time. We love to see that.
Yes.
You guys have both been through this before. You guys have gotten the nastiness, the hate. I know that you guys have been supportive of each other. General season 1 cast, very supportive of one another. So I just think it's important that we touch on that. And I also just want to say good on you, Phillip, and good on you, Luke.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I think that Sydney, personally, I love her. And I think that she's great TV. And I just would hope that everyone would remember every single person on the cast got cast for a reason, including Sydney. It doesn't make any one player better than another one. Y'all got cast for the same thing, okay? And just because she was out earlier and definitely had some issues, and she self-admittedly, she had some issues that she's worked on and fixed and is continuing to work on. And it'd be nice if some of the things that I've seen and heard, because yes, I do, I look them all up. Some of the things that I've seen and heard, I was disgusted by. And I was like, if you're not even going to support your own cast and build up the show, what are you doing? What are you doing? What kind of person are you?
Yeah.
Because you're not the same person that I picked preseason to be one of my favorites. That's for sure. So, yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you on that. And I did see the Reddit, and
so I'll look that up.
Yeah, and she has been more professional.
Yes.
When she didn't have to be. She did not have to be. She has been more professional through all of this than anybody I've seen out there. And that's okay. You don't have to like her. Okay. We've got people from our cast that don't like each other.
Period.
But at least present some sort of decorum and some level of respect on the fact that we were OG. Nobody else ever will be OG Dondi. That was us. And like them or not, you played with them, you strategized with them or without them. And it is what it is. You don't have to like them, but dang, at least be kind and semi-respectful, you know?
I like that. I like that feedback, Kim. I think that's a great synopsis of what generally has been out, and we know there's multiple approaches and ways to handle that. And I tend to agree with you also, Jack, that Sydney has been a class act from things that I've seen in a situation that could become insurmountable for somebody, could have a hard time getting through that. And Sydney's taking it in stride. Be like me, girl. Let them cuss you out a year later, girl. It's like, you know. So she's a class act, and you could choose to be riled up about it, or you can choose to be demure, or a combination of those things, whatever the case may be. And I think she's a class act. So good on her.
Very impressed with how this young woman has handled herself with everything, interviews, some of the stuff she posted on Reddit. Like she did talk about some things, but it didn't come across in a way where she was trying to throw shade at anybody or badmouth anybody or trash anybody. Right. She was trying to defend herself because she felt that a lot of people were piling onto her, and there's always two sides to every story. So, but I will say that this is not a good look for cast members and for this cast. And it's not something that I can ever really remember seeing in reality TV ever, of just like,
I agree,
this type of thing. So very strange.
Yeah, talk about game, talk about moves you don't respect. I think it's a very thin line between that and like moving into attacks of like personal, because there was another thing, and I will just bring it up briefly because I think we generally need to stop casually using the word crazy. I wish people would stop saying things such as, somebody has a narcissistic personality disorder. That was in this episode. Correct, Miss CK. That is a medical diagnosis. You have no authority to say that because of traits that you think might be consistent with an actual medical diagnosis. That's totally inappropriate. The way people throw it around crazy and all these other things, I take pause to that. I take great pause. And so when people start doing that, they're crossing the line. You have no authority to talk about things like that. But what you could do is talk about someone's gameplay. What you could talk about is someone's poor strategy, whatever. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say on that.
And can I say one other thing about Dondi?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Rock taking 250,000. Okay. So I was okay with that. You know, in theory, you know, there were there were 3 cases remaining, 2 of them, and then the big one, which ultimately ended up being in his case, right? So he would have won. If he went to the end, he wins, right? But taking the 250,000 and saying, this is for you guys. This, buddy, did you come on there to build the pot for somebody else to win? Just remember, once you're out, you're out. Period. Point blank. That's the end. So I hope I do not see any more players playing for the other people, because I can promise you with 100% certainty that the professional players in there, Parvati, David, Will, are not playing for somebody else to win. I can promise you, Rob was not playing for somebody else to win.
I'm going to just say that. That's why he didn't put nothing in the pot, because he was like, anyway, I'm saving myself and goodbye.
And the other thing is the fact they're at $531,000 right now.
And $1.
And $1. 531,001. Aaron had 600,000 in the first episode. I was critiqued for taking 225,000 in the second episode, right? Aaron alone has more than 3 episodes in this one, but they've got bigger dollar amounts to play for.
That's what I'm about to say. We're
going to see it. Obviously, we're going to see some of these things building up and bigger pots being played for. And obviously, NBC upped the budget this year.
And did.
Big time. And so, I don't know. That was the only thing. I loved his enthusiasm, and I loved that Rock wanted to be in the game, and Rock wanted to control his own destiny, but he did not control his own destiny. He played for the other players, the other 11 in there. And that was my only disappointment in that.
We spoke about that too before. I think that's a common theme that comes through when we are watching the Temple games. We're saying, what are they making the decision based on? And that's right, Kim. We had talked about that, and theme runs through with
exactly.
All right, guys, we got a couple minutes here. Let's touch on traders real quick.
Wow!
Because I know Steph is dying to talk about traders, and we could do a whole other hour, but unfortunately we don't have time because I'm going to talk to Rock in a short bit. But so this past week, Thursday night, episode drops. I was actually covering a basketball game for the Baltimore Sun. Doing some freelance work. I was over there covering Maryland at Northwestern. Got done around 12:30. Steph texted me at some point, "Oh my gosh, cannot wait to hear what you have to say about traders. I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but we got so much to talk about." So I'm just getting handed off to you, Steph. Go ahead. Let's talk traders for a couple minutes here.
So Kim and I collectively needed therapy after this episode. We spoke on the phone, and it was a lot to take in. I have never been so disappointed since Dan did what he did to Phaedra and throwing another trader under the bus immediately. That being said, it doesn't mean that at some point you may have to sacrifice a trader in order to continue to move forward, but that was not that moment. And so the level of mistrust that Rob is sowing amongst the other folks in the castle and against his traders is immediate and palpable. I was very disheartened by that move. It did not need to happen then. It is too early to start the backstabbing. You're still in a situation where you're needing to create trust within your tradership. He didn't offer an opportunity to talk to Bob the drag queen and be like, hey, what was that about? Are we going to target somebody who was also in those cages that were suspended? Like, he immediately just went on attack. And that is who Rob is. That is why he's a threat. And it fires me up every time that nobody recognizes it, that he will cut your throat immediately. Yep. And if I were in that castle, it could only be me or him alive, because I see that. And I'm in a place where not a lot of other people do. And so I was disheartened because I really wanted to see a strong front from the traders together as a unit.
Do you want me to talk?
Yes, it's your turn to talk. Yep.
Yes, Kim.
And then I'll go after you.
Probably Rob's worst trait came out. Rob is paranoid. Okay. When Rob wants to run the show, Rob wants to have other people follow his lead on the show. Bob the drag queen was taking a lead in the turret. Rob, you've been there like 10 minutes. Okay. Seriously. You might want to absorb what the vibe is in the room as opposed to taking what he said and running with it as a paranoia and going, well, he must have meant he was talking about me. So therefore, I've got to get rid of him. Honey, you've got a 50% better chance of staying than anybody else because you're one of the traitors. So I was like, way too much, way too soon, and saying it with so much conviction and confidence. He overplayed his hand. Okay. He's a poker player. Let's call it what it is. He overplayed his hand. It'd be like me looking at 4 aces with a king and going, oh no, I can't do it. I think okay, I'll go ahead and see it. No, overplayed the hand.
And do you think he overplayed the hand at the round table?
Absolutely.
When he was so, okay.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's why walking away from the round table, now you got Danielle, you got Danny, Ding Dong Danny. You've got Carolyn as a fellow survivor going, wait, got rid of Tony, got rid of Jeremy, and now turned on the traitors to get rid of Bob the drag queen. You got Wes, who is no dummy. Okay.
Nope.
He's not the Mensa level that he professes, but he is a smart player. Okay. And I thought Wes had the greatest post-table move.
Yes.
By talking to Tom and talking to Dylan and going, now who could be that confident and nail a traitor? No, come on, Tom. You play with me. I know I can get you to say this.
And he did.
Who would know that for sure? And Tom's like, another traitor.
We see when his face changes, when he recognizes that only another traitor would
light bulb.
So yeah. And I'm like, thank goodness for Wes, because the way they were talking about Rob as hero, I have to listen to everything he says now. I'm like, girl, you're bamboozled.
Yeah.
What do you think?
All right, I'm going to weigh in here, and then we're going to wrap things up. Actually, I've got one more question for Kim after the traders here in a second. I think Rob actually had a worse episode the week before by throwing Tony out, because that looked so shady. Why is this guy caping up for Bob the drag queen, who he's known for 5 minutes, who I don't think they probably have a ton in common, whereas Tony and him have known each other for years. They And Tony said it in his exit press that he felt like it was personal and there was some kind of vendetta to get him out kind of thing. But to have those survivor numbers, it's a game of numbers. I thought that looked shady. And then what you guys were talking about, Wes and Derek, if you know anything about how these shows get made, you know that like it's not going to make sense to throw 3 players into the game that are all faithfuls. One of them has to be a traitor.
Correct.
100%.
And Derek even said that at one point. He's like, I think either one of those 2 guys has to be a traitor because I know I'm not. But we're all gamers. They're all putting us in at the same time. So I don't know. I think Rob's overplayed his hand. We'll see how it goes. Be interesting to see. We'll talk more about it next week. Last question I have for Kim.
I want to see Danny come at him. Oh, baby.
Kim, I've been waiting an hour to ask you this. How are we feeling about the new Bears head coach?
Well, he's nice looking. He seems very personable. And you know what? For like 35 years, every spring, I go, maybe next year, we got a great quarterback coming in. Oh, look at that running back. Oh, we got a new coach, which is like every other year. And it's like, oh my God, let's get rid of the quarterback with the hangnail that cries all the time. So while I'm saying it again, yes, we've got a new coach. I want him to build up some enthusiasm. I want him to make this team love football. I want them to love football again, because they sure didn't seem like they did this year. And yeah, so the Bears are going to do it next year.
Hey, we got the win over the Packers to hang our hats on for the next 10
We've got
months.
9 months of bragging rights over Green Bay. that is like the skies opened up and the angels looked down and they sang and went, Bears. So I'm happy about it.
All right. Well, she is Kim Mattina. You can follow her on social media. Where, Kim?
At Kim Mattina everywhere. I think I'm still on TikTok, even though I never posted there and didn't freak out over it. But I think I'm still there. But on Instagram, on Twitter /Z/ whatever it is, on Facebook /Meta. I don't know, whatever. I'm on all of them, but it's Kim Mattina on all of them.
Kim, it's always a treat. Thank you so much for your time today. Certainly won't be the last time.
Jack, love that you asked me to join you guys, because you know it and Stephanie knows it. I will talk about these shows to the death.
Love it.
And I'm not always going to have the same opinion. I'm going to have a dissenting opinion on many of it, on who I love, who I hate, who I love to hate, all of that. But I'm going to have an opinion about it.
That's right.
And so I am ready for Dondi to pick up, and I know it will, and I want to see more strategy. Give me strategic play, Steph. You know this.
I love it.
We need it. We need it. So thank you, Jack, for having me on. Stephanie, thank you for inviting me, you guys.
Of course.
Love it. Love you guys so much.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
We'll see you soon, Kim. Take care.
Okay. Thanks. Good night.
Bye.
All right. That was a lot of fun, Kim, on the show. We were going to talk to Bergie, but didn't end up happening this week. We're going to have him at some point soon. I have been talking with Bergie. Bergie will be on. We're going to have other guests too. So always fun talking with some of our friends from Dondi and from some of these other shows that we love. Steph, you're on social media at Dr. Midwife.
Yes, correct. Dr. Midwife. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok. Doing a social
TikTok
media.
is back.
Apparently, so so for the meanwhile, I'm in those places. So looking forward to connecting with you guys nicely and friendly, please, if you don't mind, on the internet. I love a good commentary.
Send her some fan mail. Send her good messages. So we are going to be back next week with another recap.
Nice.
I'm on social media, by the way, at Jack Vita Show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok as well. Make sure you guys, tweet us your thoughts or send us a message or post an Instagram story. I'd love to know what you guys are interested in. Comment here on the YouTube channel. Give us questions for next week. Go back and check out our exit interview at the time of this recording. That exit interview will probably be out with Rock, so you guys can hear some of the insights from Rock. I'm about to record that here in a few minutes. It's going to be fun. But make sure you guys are all subscribed to the Jack Vita Show here on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you get your podcasts, and you won't miss out on any of the content that we have coming out. So hopefully another exit interview next week, but you can never be too sure. And we'll be back next week to recap episode 4. Until then, I'm Jack Vita. Bring in the dancing lobsters.